What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are lighting up our countless skinny cigarettes singing super visual pop music as we talk about the very first episode of the new HBO Max original series, The Idol.
After a nervous breakdown derailed Jocelyn's last tour, she's determined to claim her rightful status as the greatest and sexiest pop star in America. Her passions are reignited by Tedros, a nightclub impresario with a sordid past. Will her romantic awakening take her to glorious new heights or the deepest, darkest depths of her soul? I had not read that logline until right this second, and I could not be more disinterested in whatever story that's trying to convey. I'm going to be honest with you.
100%. Like
nothing grabs me.
No. Did you watch like the end of the, you know how they do like the behind the scenes stuff afterwards?
Oh no, I totally didn't. No.
Oh, so Sam Levinson goes into this whole like, oh, it's a story about like, blah, just goes into all this stuff. And I just like, well, none of that was in the episode. Cause like, I don't know what the fuck you think you made, but it wasn't that. That's for sure. Like at least in episode 1, I know there's more to come. I was like, dude, what is going on?
Tough. Okay. So we are talking about episode 1 of The Idol. I believe there's going to be 6 total episodes. That means that we will have 5 more. Spoilers are ahead for the very first episode of The Idol. You can stream it right now on Max. So yeah, this might very well indeed be a 24-minute podcast because lots of interesting things to note about the show. But I think we should probably start off by saying the first 2 episodes premiered at Cannes a few weeks ago. Absolutely critically panned.
That's right.
Just so weird in general that it premiered at Cannes. I just don't get that. Very critically panned, debuted as the worst rated HBO Max original show of all time on Rotten Tomatoes when it got reviewed and when the embargo dropped. We are not sure. Actually, we're positive we will not be covering the other 5 episodes. We might do a full season recap depending on how we feel or how, if any of our listeners want to hear it. Sam Levinson, pretty troubled. A lot of behind-the-scenes production issues with this show of consistent rewrites to kind of write out Lily Rose Depp's role, make it more overtly sexual, and in Lily Rose Depp's words, rapey. So lots of weird things, lots of behind-the-scenes stuff that just is not good. So we just wanted to cover the first episode to give our thoughts, give our take, kind of join the conversation and put our stamp in the ground and say basically like, we don't support any of that kind of stuff. And, A24 doesn't always pick a gem, which I think is an interesting topic of conversation that we can maybe lead off with.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it's crazy that they're coming off a Best Picture win. It's like,
and they're coming off of another TV show in Beef that was a phenomenon. Of course, not without, again, it's kind of behind the scenes drama that did end up coming up, but an absolute Netflix phenomenon. And then going to this, admittedly, Sam Levinson at the helm of Euphoria as well, which Emmy just eats all the Emmys and everybody wins and it's a fantastic show. This, not so much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was talking with my partner and she was, saying like, it almost seems like Sam Levinson was coming out the second season of Euphoria and maybe feeling like impenetrable. It's just like, oh, anything I do is perfect, whatever. And so he just went full tilt on this. And it's just like, no, like for me, he missed the mark on so much stuff, like it did not need to be this like sexualized. Like I think there's a way to do it without the way that he did it. I was just kind of like uncomfortable watching it. It's like this, so much this is unnecessary. These outfits are insane, and I do think much like Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, which I will always want to see. Like I want to see the version of this movie with the original with Amy Seimetz, who was like going to direct it originally and was an executive producer. And she was on. It's like, I think telling the story of like a female pop star from a female perspective, with like, women behind the scenes, like creating it all. It's like, it just gives it a whole different feel. And I think it just would have been more appropriate. I would have been really more interested in that story. But then Sam Levinson comes in and just like flips it on its head. And it's just like, it didn't need to be this. Like, I don't really like what this is. Not a super big fan of what we watched. That being said, I did give myself a rat tail, just in honor
you gotta
of this
celebrate,
episode.
baby.
Just this one episode.
Incredible. That totally makes covering this episode or the show totally worth it.
I had to do it. So yeah, shout out Ashley for putting that together for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we'll get into all the scenes and stuff and we can talk about that, but I don't know. If it didn't say it was by A24, I don't know who I would have thought this was by. It was just like, This doesn't seem like an A24 thing to me. But not everything can be a hit. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, as A24 continues to grow in the spotlight as they are doing so prevalently, they do go back to their well quite often, right? They have Rachel Sennott in this show, who is in other A24 productions. They have Susanna Sun, who's in Red Rocket, an A24 production. They have Sam Levinson in showrunner of Euphoria, an A24 production. So I think they like to stick to what they know, and that does have that possibility of kind of clouding the vision a little bit in terms of a certain project. And they are trying to fulfill two ends of the spectrum at the same time. This going back to the well and trusting people they know, which generally works out pretty favorably. And then directorial debuts, first-time stars, people back in the mix, talking of Red Rocket and Sean Baker and these things. And so they are trying to do both at the same time. And I think that has that potential to maybe, cloud that vision a little bit of like, okay, anything we touch is going to be very good, or people will, watch it because of the brand name. And you and I are literally watching it because it says A24, because it has that stamp on there.
Yeah.
So we are part of the problem. We are part of the consumerism of A24. But you know what? We run a podcast, so that's what we got to do. I totally agree with you about from a woman's perspective. I think there is an alternate reality where this is an interesting show. I think Lily Rose Depp gives an interesting performance. I do. I think it is worth something there. Obviously, we're only one episode into 6. Not a lot has been revealed. Not a lot has been figured out of what direction we're moving on, what her range is. But I do think in the first episode, there were moments where I could see a powerful story coming out of her lead character. When you have Sam Levinson behind the lens and behind the script, it's weird. Like I mentioned at the top of the episode, Rachel Sennett's character basically is like, hey, don't get involved with Tedros. He seems pretty rapey.
Yeah.
And Jocelyn's like, yeah, that's what I like about him. And it's like, that's fucking weird. Like, I don't care if you're writing a TV show or a movie or you're trying to be edgy or dark or different, whatever the case is, that's just weird. And like Euphoria season 2, listeners and I'm very cold on like the last 2 episodes of Euphoria. I think it is a sublime show in lots of other aspects. Sam Levinson totally lost control of what was going on. And I just think he gets derailed pretty quickly and pretty fast. So in this first episode, exceptionally unnecessary and high nudity levels. I mean, we start out with basically a nude photo shoot pretty much. What I just am curious. I know we're going to go through the true cinema and we're not going to try and kind of take too long on this because I don't think it deserves necessarily a full length pod. The themes and the messages from episode 1. There were definitely interactions that I found fascinating or interesting or could lead to something that is worth a conversation about. But they were halted pretty fast. And I'm just curious from your point of view, what do you think was the goal of the first episode? Besides like setting the stage for these characters, what did we learn? What did we get out of it? I don't really know.
I'm not sure either. Like, I think the only thing is raising questions around Tedros and his dudes, because there just seems to be certain things where they were like plotting and scheming. There's even, the dancer that suggests the club to Joss when they go to the club, she's dancing with her. Tedros comes out, and then like the other girl just kind of leaves, but it's almost like, okay, I did my job. He's with her. I'm out of here. It's like, oh, is she in on this as well? Like, is she part of the reason they're at this club? And then obviously one of the dudes starts dancing with like Rachel Sennott. So there's something going on behind the scenes where they're trying to, I don't know, like take control or whatever. But it's just a bummer that even knowing that, I don't necessarily care how it ends up. You know, it's just like, it seems like maybe kind of an interesting premise, but also just like, I don't know, like if it's going to be 5 more hours of what we got with this, and like, it's just like, it's excessive, you know? And like, not that that's like always bad, you know what I mean? Like everything everywhere is excessive. Like that is like so much, you know? But it's not like slow-mo ass shots or, you know, like
that was
popping out of
so weird.
It was so unnecessary. And like even in the thing afterwards, he was like, oh, it's like derivative of reality TV and all this kind of stuff. I was like, you can't just say derivative and have it make sense, dude. Like I don't
He's like,
think
that's my keyword. That's my out. I can just say it's derivative and then we're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he's like, it's like reality TV. And I was thinking about reality TV during it because I mean, Vanderpump Rules, like this was definitely like a Sheena Shea song that like she kept doing the whole episode. I'm like, oh, Sheena wishes she had this for sure, you know? But it just, I don't know. There's just so much stuff. Like the outfit that she goes out to dance in. I'm like, I don't think that was the outfit when there was a female showrunner. You know what I mean? Like that is like barely covering the areolas, and she's going out to like practice a dance routine, like work out essentially. And I get it. You know, it's supposed to be, I mean, maybe I don't get it. I don't know why. I get the fact that there's Sam Levinson, you know, like he's like, oh, I'm going to do this, but it's like, that's the stuff. I'm like, what are we getting out of this? What are we getting out of her like nipples constantly slipping out of this top? Like, what is that adding to the storyline? Like, I don't understand that, like what that's doing for us.
No, I completely agree with you. And there's a scene, and we'll kick in on the true cinema here in like 1 second, but she comes home from the club and sits on the couch, and it's like one nipple's just like out, and it's like, we're just chilling on a couch. Can we just not? Like, can we just be normal? But you know, I mean, I don't understand how Sam Levinson's brain works. I was really excited for Malcolm and Marie. It was a Netflix original movie, I believe 2018-ish, 2019, with Zendaya and John David Washington, based on a play, black and white, one house setting, relationship that kind of blows up. Premium content, like right in my wheelhouse, absolutely fell flat for me. Just not good. So I don't think this is anything new when it comes to Sam Levinson, which is, again, a much larger and interesting conversation of how does he keep getting the green light to write things and to make things and to have money to do these types of things, especially when it's gratuitous and off-putting for a lot of audience. It has a 27% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It has a 60% audience score, which I think is interesting. I don't know what, you know, I don't know if people like that world or like the gratuitous nature or whatever the case may be. In my camp, I really enjoyed the background. I mean, it literally felt like background conversations and background conflict that we pretty much opened with in the first 10 minutes with her manager and her best friend, Rachel Sennott, as like her assistant. And then we get, you know, somebody coming in from Variety doing like a piece. And I thought that was very interesting stuff, because like that behind the scenes of, we're not selling any tickets. We had to take them down because nobody was buying them. Now we're trying to re-hype up this tour. I liked that between all of those people, Dan Levy and Hank Azaria, like that worked for me. And we got about like 6 minutes of it, and then it completely disappeared. Just gone. Just didn't even exist. Like nothing came of that, which I thought was so odd and so strange. And then we just like defaulted to this very, you know, Tedros centric. No intro song. Did I miss it? Like
I don't remember it.
I just think that's a little odd to me. Like okay, if you're trying to be like cool and ominous and like just stamp your title there, I guess, but not even like a note or two notes or like that, which is kind of odd to me because like The Weeknd is a star of this show. He knows how to make music. Like at the very least, let's make some dope music for this show. I think would be cool. I don't know.
What did you think about him as an actor in the one episode we've gotten so far?
I think he's really awkward. I think he's really weird. Like, not to mention the rat tail is just strange, but like, I think I from what I felt like about his acting, when he was engaged in dialogue with Jocelyn, it was very creepy and very awkward. Like from an acting standpoint, it just felt like he was not 1,000,000% engaged. When he's not engaged in dialogue, he's literally just trying to have sex with Jocelyn. That's literally it. And so like, to me, that just comes across as like, let's just make 6 hours of this project so I can fuck Lily Rose Depp. Like literally that's how it came across to me. What did you think about him as an actor?
I think awkward's like the perfect word for it because I felt like I knew what he thought he was doing. And then like we saw what kind of came across, and I'm not an actor. Like I'm not trying to like shit on it or anything, but
I would be worse, I guess. So
yeah. But I just think it's an interesting choice, like to have someone who's not an actor and then make them the lead of the show, like to switch the premise of the show to make him the lead here. I think maybe he would have worked better as, just like the secondary character or whatever. I mean, I guess technically he is, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think the more that I think about it, the more interested I would be in like 4 episodes about Jocelyn trying to get back on track and trying to have a world tour and trying to make music and like super centric on her and her team and all of that. And then we get 5 and 6 where Tedros comes in and tries to snake her power and tries to insert himself in that world. And then, and then 7, something happens and blows up and whatever. Cliffhanger, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. But like, I think that's a much more fascinating story than just like, oh, cool, this really weird dude just showed up in episode 1. So yeah, let's do the true cinema moments. So we can kind of work through this episode here. The opening scene, doing this album cover photo shoot. We open again, very gratuitous from the get go of Jocelyn, played by Lily Rose Depp, wants to show her nipples and wants to be basically nude for her album cover, but that is not in like the contract essentially. And there is an intimacy coordinator on set who is trying to explain the rules to her manager, played by Hank Azaria, and kind of her team, and is like, look, this is like for her protection. You got to give her 48 hours. We can change it, but you got to give her 48 hours. All of that to say, her manager locks the intimacy coordinator in a closet, which I think theme and message wise is absolute like really fucked up. It was a funny scene. We can separate those two things. I can separate those two things and say like, I think that scene played funny. I think it's a very, very poor message to start the show out on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting. That person's just like yelling at the wall because none of these people care. Like they just want what's like going to make them money or make, Jocelyn money. But he's trying to make the points. Like, I know she's saying that she wants to be naked, but there's also the power dynamics where she might feel like she has to save that, like that's why we wait 24 or 48 hours and all this stuff. And they're like, well, she says she wants to show her nipples, so let's do it. And it's like, I'm all for body autonomy, but again, in the contract, like we can't do this. Like it's for her safety. And none of them care, again, to the point where Hank Azaria like has the guy locked in the bathroom. He says the other guy, hey, $5,000, like hold the store for 3 hours. That's
my question to you. Put yourself in this situation. If you're that guy on that set, that Hank Azaria's character is like, hey, you want to make $5,000? Hold this guy in this closet for 3 hours. What do you do, Ben Longhorn? How do you traverse the situation? Would you do
if
it?
I'm that dude, I guess, like, I don't know. And just like, if he's really putting up a fight, I might just offer to split it with him. Like, just sit in there. Let's each make $2,500 really easy. Just don't come out of the bathroom. Let's just sit and talk, like
the split is the way to go. That's smart thinking right there.
Let's each make some easy money.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Haim is not good for the rest of the money. He only gave him $2,000. and he's
Yeah,
like,
no.
I'll pay you the other 3 later when I got it, that guy's fucked out of $3,000. Let's just say that right now. Okay, next one I have is the dance rehearsal. You mentioned it. This takes place after the album photo shoot. Jocelyn cannot get it the first time, is basically on the verge of tears and crying and having another breakdown, which we get conversations of here and there between her managers and lots of kind of people that come in and we don't see again, at least in this episode, and worrying about if she's going to have another breakdown or whatever. She smokes of her 12th cigarette by minute 7 of the episode, and then does her dance and kind of nails it and is pretty good at it. And so I think that's worth noting of like, maybe she does have that raw talent. Maybe she is good at doing this, and maybe she just has lost her mojo a little bit. But again, I think the scene is ultimately unnecessary in what everybody's wearing, the way that it's structured. The edits are just odd.
It was interesting, though. I think the most interesting part of that whole scene is that she really dials it in when she asks the other dancer, like, are they all looking at me? So it's like when she has everyone's attention, then it's like, okay, now I can perform. But maybe while other people are distracted with other stuff and no one's watching, it's like, well, I'm just going to like half-ass this. But she fucking nails it once everyone's watching her. So I think it maybe just kind of speaks to her as a performer.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one, showing the photo to Jocelyn. So this episode kicks off with basically a photo of Jocelyn being leaked online of her having cum all over her face and her team trying to not let her find out and freaking out and figuring out how do you traverse this. They decide to show Jocelyn. Dan Levy's character is like, I subpoenaed Reddit. I don't know. Is that possible? Can you subpoena like the entirety of Reddit? Like, how does that work? I don't know.
You can't subpoena the internet. That's so weird.
I found it odd though that multiple times, Jocelyn included, was like, oh, it could be so much worse. It's not that bad. Like, it could be worse. It could be worse. And then someone was like, how could it be worse? And then you realize like this is kind of a think tank of like everybody protect Jocelyn. And so everybody's like, she's the #1 trending topic on Twitter. She'll come out more famous. That's great. And it's like, is it though? Because isn't she on the verge of another nervous breakdown? Like, is her kind of delaying her reality of what is going on just going to make things worse in the long run?
Yeah, I think their viewpoint is just, all press is good press kind of thing. This was another key moment for me where I just found myself wondering what the original director wanted to do here, because it makes me think like, oh, maybe this was like, like when all the celebrities' photos got leaked from the cloud, it's like maybe it was just like a nude or something in the original script. And then it got Sam Levinson into like a cum shot on her face. It's like, well, this is like so aggressive. Like, it does not need to be this. You could tell the same story with like even a leaked sex tape or something, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that gratuitous, and the message is still there. And for me, it's just like, I want to know what the original thing was. And maybe it was this the whole time. Again, like, I don't know, but I just have a hard time believing it would have been the same thing.
Yes. 1,000,000% agree with you. I think that Rachel Sennett's character, Leia, is really funny in this scene. And this was the scene that locked in for me where I was like, I literally don't care about anything else. I just want to watch like a Rachel Sennott spinoff. Like, I just want to watch Aaliyah. Like, how does she navigate this world as Joss's assistant? That's all that I want, because she's great in this episode. And Tedros treating her like garbage made my blood boil, made my skin crawl. I could not stand it when when Jocelyn and Tedros were in the hallway and he's like, who the fuck is that? Oh, she's so weird. And it's like, dude, Jocelyn's best friend is looking out for her, is trying to find her so she doesn't spiral out of control. And you're just being an asshole to her. Not okay. Okay, a couple more scenes. Tedros calls Jocelyn out in the club on the microphone. Very reminiscent of The Weeknd in Uncut Gems type situation here. Weird power dynamic from the very start with Tedros of like, hey, is that Jocelyn? I'm going to come dance with you. And it is absolutely, at least it feels like to me, a Sam Levinson driven like sexual fantasy power struggle that he's getting to pen on paper, because like they immediately start dancing, they immediately start making out, they immediately go to the hallway and start to get very handsy and like are ready to have sex in the hallway. And it just is like a really weird introduction that's exceptionally off-putting to the character of Tedros.
Yeah, it really is. He's just like it seems very predatory. And again, like thinking about the other people that are involved, because we have the dude at the bar with like the Life is War tattoo on his head, like kind of keeping watch over Rachel Sennott. It's very calculated. So yeah, it was kind of creepy.
Next one, Jocelyn gets home. I mentioned this earlier. This is when like just overtly sexual that really doesn't need to be there at all. She gets home. Her and Tedros split ways. They do not go any further physically. She goes home, she masturbates and chokes herself at the same time, which is telling of her character. If you really wanted to like get into the psychological effects of what she's trying to do or struggle with, or like how, you know, the relationship between pain and sexual pleasure, and like how close she as a human being wants to get to that line. You chop this scene out, literally the same episode. Like it's the same thing. We already know that about Jocelyn, because 2 seconds earlier she's like, yeah, I'm interested in a dude who seems really rapey. And it's like, okay, cool. You're probably really fucked up. Great. Yeah. I've solved that, and we can now move on to more character development that is not based around this.
And before that, we get kind of like a over the shoulder shot of her hands, and she has these long ass press on nails. And I was like, those aren't masturbating fingers, man. Like, there's no way. Like,
can't be done.
You gotta rip those things off, man. It's like, it's unbelievable. It took me out of the scene. Come on, Sam. Come on.
God damn it, Sam Levinson, get it together, guy. I think that just speaks more truly to the Sam Levinson fantasy side of things, that he thinks it can be done, and it can't be done. Okay, 2 more. Tedros walking around the house to see Jocelyn. When Leia lets Tedros in the house, super funny, because Tedros tries to hug her and she's like, yeah, thanks for that, I guess. Yeah. And then he is in the mirror, he snorts some cocaine and like talks to himself and preps what he's going to say to Jocelyn, who comes out in an exceptionally overly done outfit. Like, I guess if you have that money, if you live that life, that might be a reality, but like it just doesn't seem totally real to me. And then Tedros tying her up in the studio. This is like the last 10 minutes of the episode, where a lot of this dialogue, besides the fact that it's like pretty corny, it is also just like doesn't fucking apply. Like, it just is weird. He's just like, Tedros is like, do you sing sitting down? Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, you're just horny, dude. Like, I get it. She's pretty good looking. Okay, I understand you're a pretty weird predator dude, but like, and then it's just odd to me. It was just very weird. And then the episode ends, and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess we're out of that scene now. I don't know.
The dialogue is like, it's too much. The whole Donna Summer, like, listen to Donna Summer, Love to Love You, like she fucks or whatever,
like,
all that kind of stuff. Like, all right. But there's a scene actually earlier that I think it's when they're in the hallway talking about pop music and stuff, and she's like just saying how whatever fake or whatever it is. And he's like, what about When Doves Cry with Prince? And it's just like, you can tell me that's like, she's like, well, no, it's great. But the thing is, earlier in the show, we see a poster of Prince like in her bedroom, and it's just like, it kind of felt like the hat on the hat. Like, you don't need to show us and tell us about Prince. Like, the poster was enough. Like, we get it. She loves Prince. Like, that's fine. And the fact that he would like coincidentally bring it up, like, well, what about Prince? It's like, then that should have been a different poster or somebody. Cause like, don't show us Prince and talk to us about Prince. Also, I don't want you ruining Prince for me. Like, I skipped through the credits because I was like, one of my favorite things ever is Purple Rain, like the movie and the soundtrack. Yeah. And I was like, I can't have this show ruin this for me. So
don't sour it.
I skipped through the credits and went straight to like the behind the scenes things at the end. So I was like, I can't have The Weeknd do this to me.
Good.
but yeah, the dialogue was gnarly. And so while we were talking, I looked up the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but none of it it didn't necessarily come across, but Tedros, he is described as a self-help guru, the leader of a modern day cult with a sordid and mysterious past.
Sick. Didn't get a single ounce of that from the first episode.
Right? Exactly. It's like, if you lean into that a little more, maybe I'm more interested. It's like, oh, okay, if this is a religious leader who's trying to use a pop star to get his message out there and like take over or whatever.
That's fascinating to me. I will watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I didn't really get that. I got that like he has a couple of friends that are helping him pull off deals or, like being a little shady and stuff. But it's like, I didn't pick this up. And again, like, I don't know. It just feels like there's only 6 episodes. Like, I don't know that you can be a slow burn with 6 episodes. Like, let me know what's happening here. So, yeah, I know it was a super cringy scene. The only other fun fact I want to throw out there is that they actually shot this at The Weeknd's actual house. This is his actual home. Yeah,
that's
which is
cool.
like kind of cool. But yeah, there is that scene where he comes in, he's like walking around, and definitely looks like Travolta from Pulp Fiction.
Yes,
he has like kind of like the long duster, and he even has the ponytail, like looking around. It's
he
like,
does. Yeah,
that was more than coincidental, but
absolutely,
overall, just a super awkward scene.
I think that's wonderful that you mentioned that about Tedros' character, because I would assume most of our listeners of this pod probably don't know that either, and are not going to go visit the Wikipedia page, but also really speaks to the fact that I think a lot of this over-sexualization plot device gets in the way of a lot of things that we could be doing. I didn't get any of that. None of that came across to me in about a 7, 8, 10-minute scene directly between Tedros and Jocelyn. At no point in time does Tedros mention, like, I can help you. Here are my core ideals and beliefs, and here are my dudes, and like, sure, I have a weird past. Like, not even hints. So like, I feel like the over-sexualization and the absolute dog shit dialogue are really out of whack and really don't justify what we're watching. I would have gladly taken an entire episode with Dan Levy and Troye Sivan and Hank Azaria and Eli Roth and these people figuring out Finkelstein behind the scenes. Like, I would have taken a whole episode of that, but we didn't get that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Eli Roth, I enjoyed his character because he's like he plays super douchey really well.
Yeah, he's good at it.
And I want to also shout out Devon Joy Randolph, who's Destiny. Like, she's great. She's in the Only Murders in the Building, which is a wonderful show. It was awesome to see her pop up in here as well. She's the woman that comes in and tells Hank Azaria, like, get off the phone. I got to talk to you now. Like, she's the one that like exposes the photo to them. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, she was great.
Okay, I'm gonna pick my truth in a moment. I'm gonna bend the rules a little bit since it's something that we're not too fond of in general. I'm gonna choose any line of dialogue from Rachel Sennott. That was quite frankly the highlight of the episode for me. Is like, oh, sick, we're getting more Rachel Sennott screen time. Like, give me more of her words, please. Yeah. So that's what I'm throwing out there. What are you gonna go with?
I honestly got a good chuckle out of the okay, thanks for that. Like, after she hugged him, or after he hugged her, like, that was kind of funny. For my true cinema, I'm just gonna go with the opening scene because I think it was impressive. Like, I'm kind of curious to see more of Lily Rose Depp and what she can do, because as he's shouting out like the emotions and stuff, she is able to capture it. That tear drops like just perfectly.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see. I mean, to the point that I think your dude Robert Eggers brought her in for the Nosferatu, right? And she takes over for
fucking go.
She filled in for Anya Taylor-Joy, so it's like it feels like I mean, I have my feelings on Eggers, but like he's not going to put an awful person in that role.
How many Robert Eggers films have you seen again?
No good ones. I know that.
Oh my
I know that
God.
for sure.
God, I'm catching strays on the pod. Holy shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Were you just right before we started recording, were you just like, oh yeah, don't forget how great Alexander Skarsgård is in The Northman by Robert Eggers?
I think you heard that, but I don't think that's what I said, but I think that's what you heard.
That's probably why we didn't start recording until after you said that. You didn't want the audio to leak. That's what we're doing.
Exactly. Yep.
Gotta protect that social media presence.
100%. Yep.
Okay, so that'll cover this episode. I think both of us can agree we're pretty sour on it. As a whole, we'll get to the A24 ranking, which will be interesting here in a second. I don't know what I'm going to rank it quite yet. We have two A1X that we're going to do. We're going to do the Weekend, and we're going to do movies about music stars because, of course, this is a music star kind of show. And again, to your point, I would not have known all of this backstory on Jocelyn. All that I picked up on in the first episode is like, oh, she's had a breakdown previously. I didn't know she's the #1 pop star in the world. Like, it just doesn't give off that vibe. We got nothing telling us that everybody loves her except for one scene with paparazzis. And it's like, that wasn't quite enough to sell it for me. So let's start with The Weeknd. Again, we're not doing Sam Levinson because his projects are pretty limited, and we don't fully support, his vision, his idea of this show specifically. So we've got Blinding Lights, we've got Dawn FM, the album, Starboy, the album, After Hours, the album, the Avatar: The Way of Water single, which drops during the credits, the credit roll, and then his role in Uncut Gems. That's what I pinned the shortlist down to. I also wanted to put on there the Super Bowl halftime show from a few years ago. Incredible little GIF, little movie that I have of him trying to find his way out of the mirrors. I always love to throw that one down on Twitter. What are you going to go with?
I mean, you just gave my answer. I was going to go with the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes, I did it.
I was like, we got a great GIF of that. Anytime, you're commenting like and you're confused and don't know what to do.
That's it right there.
That's the best thing that we've gotten from him. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can agree. Look, normally people would think that I would go with Uncut Gems because it is Uncut Gems, of course. I'm actually going to go with After Hours, specifically the deluxe album. I probably listen to that album like at least once a week. I think that is a really like get down to brass tacks at work type of an album for me.
Okay.
It's got pretty good beats. I don't really listen to a lot of it, but it is just like the perfect wavelength for me to tune most of it out and really get focused on work. So got to give it to him. I like that album. I think it's pretty good. Acting,
it's still
not super great.
Yeah, but that is kind of didn't they use some of those singles on Uncut Gems, right? Like some of the same kind of vibe.
Some of his older stuff they used on Uncut Gems.
Nice.
Absolutely. But I think it's pretty good in Uncut Gems, especially when he's trying to fuck Julia Fox and like creates that whole stir of things. So The Weeknd, 2 for 2 on very limited screen time trying to fuck the only girl in the movie or the television show. Not a great look. Okay, movies about music stars. Here's the short list here. A Star is Born, Boogie Nights, Almost Famous. I put on Boogie Nights because a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know. But I'll tell you right now, Dirk Diggler, pop star, right there. He's got the power. He's got the touch. Okay. That's what I'm going to say.
All right.
Almost Famous, Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man, Ray, The Runaways, Walk the Line, La Vie and Rose, Sing Street, and Inside Llewyn Davis. You could probably put possibly Whiplash on here if you wanted to. You could possibly put La La Land on here if you wanted to. I think it's a pretty broad topic. I'm assuming that yours is not on this list, Ben.
You're 100% right, and I'm very curious to hear what yours is going to be. But I'm going to go with something not on the list. Also with Mark Wahlberg, though. It's a movie called Rockstar. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a wonderful movie about a guy who basically plays Wahlberg plays the lead singer of a tribute band, and the band that they're a tribute for, that actual band loses its singer. And so he gets to go actually sing for the band that he was covering beforehand. So he actually joins the band based on a true story, actually, from Judas Priest. Their singer Rob Halford left, and so they had a guy by the name of Tim Ripper Owens who then joined the band to take over the singing role. We had that happen recently with Journey. Their frontman passed away, and they found a dude who's in a cover band, I think in the Philippines, and now he's like their lead singer.
Could you imagine? No. You're just covering like your favorite band of all time for your whole life, and then they're like, "Hey, man, we need you to come be with the band." Like you get the call. That's the bat signal right there.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Rockstar. Jennifer Aniston plays his love interest. She's always fantastic. So that's what I'm going to do. Rockstar.
Oh, that's pretty good. Nice. I had not even heard of that. I showed my cards way too early. I'm going with Boogie Nights. I should have left it off the list because that would have been a really good one to be like, this is why it qualifies. But I recently, a couple weeks ago, saw a 70mm print of Boogie Nights at my local theater, and that specific scene, I'm definitely going to put it in the podcast so everybody can listen to it and see it.
Okay, Derek, you ready?
Yeah, I was born ready, Nick. Let's go, man.
Dirk Diggler demo.
Keep the vocals up.
You got the touch. Take 7. Excuse me, Reed.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah. After all is said and done, you never walk, you never run, you're a winner. You got to move, you know the streets, break the rules, take the heat, you're nobody's fool. You're at your best when the going gets rough. You've been put to the test, but it's never enough. You got the touch. You think the bass is taken away from the vocal?
No, not really. Maybe. It sounds balanced to me.
It's definitely taken away from my vocal. Just to take the bass down and bring up the vocal. Okay, let's do it, Nick. You heard him.
Where him and John C. Reilly are trying to bang out their new song, and he's got the power, I've got the touches, unreal stuff, which leads into a very good scene with Robert Downey Sr. of them trying to like obtain their records from him, which I think is like elite tier stuff. Yeah,
that's a great scene. I thought for sure actually you were gonna pull out your Tarmy card and you're gonna go with Tar.
God damn it.
That's a music star right there.
Dude, talk about a music star. Very few music stars can intimidate a 7-year-old girl and say, "Don't fuck with my kid. No parent will believe you if you tell them that I talk to you." So that's pretty unique. That's good. I'm realizing like Boogie Nights is just my thing. Like that's just, I'm in that phase right now where it's just like, that's my PTA movie. That's just what it is.
Double Wahlberg. Can't complain.
Double Wahlberg. Love to see it. Okay, A24 ranking. A through F. Do whatever you want to do. Plus, minus. What do you got?
I have zero interest in anything else, and I just can't help but think that's an F. You know, like part of me wants to give it like a D- for Rachel Sennott and for like the possibility of Lily Rose Depp and what she could do. But I don't know. Some of the supporting cast is okay, but I will feel fine never watching another episode. You know what I mean? And for me, that's just an F. It just missed the mark for me.
I love to hear that. I think it's been a long while since we've given an F24 in the pod.
Been a minute.
Would have to go back in the archives there, the records. I am actually going to give it a D- actually. Okay. So I'm going to jump, and it is specifically for the reason that you said. I think the supporting cast is good. I think there's a lot of interest there. And if we can get some more of that, I'm interested. I like Rachel Sennott in this world. I think her character, especially in this, is a little bit new, a little bit different, of like more coy, more shy, on the bottom of the barrel, kind of, not in the spotlight. And so I'm interested in that. I think the rest of the show, not very interested in. Again, let us know if you want us to cover the rest of The Idol, if you want us to do like a season 1 recap or review pod. We can do that for you. I will probably personally end up watching it just so I can tweet something every Sunday saying how shitty it is. I think that's like that's my thing, because I don't have Succession to fill that void.
That's true.
I need some kind of Sunday night HBO action. So I guess this is it. So yeah, not great. We don't recommend it. And if you want, you can watch it, but you're not missing out on anything whatsoever. A24 has acquired a dud, unfortunately.
I honestly, though, I'm curious if anyone's listening and they are enjoying the show.
Yes,
I would really love to hear what it is. Like,
these are our opinions. This is just us. This is not
open to
like
the fact that like I could just be missing it, And so like I would love if anyone's like super into the show. I would love to hear why, like in all sincerity. So like hit us up, shoot us a DM, put it in the comments, whatever. I would love to hear your feelings on it.
Absolutely. I think I'm a little warmer on it than you are, but we're just talking like a half a degree. Like it's not that crazy. But if you are enjoying it, let us know, because 60% of audience out there, they're having a good time with it. They're positively rating it. So I think that's fascinating. We'll see as the rest of the episodes come out, because they did get 2 episodes at Cannes. I'm really interested in the second episode. Like, what do we do? I'm going to assume that we do the same thing and do nothing and just try to have sex. So, which I'm probably not far off. Next week on the pod, we're doing something a little special, something a little kind of crossover-y. We've got our Patreon going on right now, patreon.com/24 minutes of not A24. We're covering Mission Impossible every Tuesday in 24 minutes, every single installment of the franchise, leading up to Dead Reckoning Part 1 coming out this summer. So we figured we'd kind of take advantage of that, and we're going to talk about the Noah Baumbach directed documentary called De Palma, who was the director of the very first Mission Impossible movie. So we'll cover that. Hopefully the week after, we're talking about Past Lives. If you can get a showtime in your area, fingers crossed. And then we're looking at an A24 draft to finish out the month. So we've got really, really fun things in store. Depending on Past Lives, might be up for a shake. Obviously, listeners know I'm every single day, my soul withers that I don't watch this movie that's changing people's lives. So I'm having a really hard time, but we're excited to hopefully cover it in a couple weeks.
I mean, you at least have a ticket. Like, I wake up each morning checking for showtime, and there's nothing.
Dude,
I was like, what
you
is going
text me
on?
almost every day, and you're like, no showtimes yet. And I die even more
just to watch it. You know, like, I don't even know.
Dude.
But excited to talk about De Palma. Obviously, Scarface. Like, he's done some fantastic movies, so it's gonna be
Blowout.
Cool.
Let's go.
Blowout. Oh, love Blowout. It'll be good to talk about that. Documentary. I mean, we said it already, but let us know what you think about The Idol. Genuinely, like, I'm very curious to hear people's take on this. Obviously, Rotten Tomatoes is like critics are negative, fans seem to be mid, to positive. So let us know. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. Also, don't forget, we are on YouTube. You might be watching us on there right now. Thank you if you are. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. You can watch us talk about this. Go check out our Patreon. We're going to be covering some fun stuff, and we are going to do it 24 minutes at a time. So please go check that out. So thank you again, everyone, for your support. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.